let's talk about My Octopus Teacher. It's about a guy named Craig Foster. And I was just mesmerized. I don't know if I was planning to watch TV for an hour or and a half or something, but the world just went away. And I couldn't stop watching it. Craig Foster kind of had a breakdown. He couldn't do his work anymore. He couldn't bring himself to look at another camera. He's a filmmaker, and he quit. He walked away from filmmaking. He couldn't do it. He doesn't talk about the personal kind of drama of what might have happened in his family, but he alludes to it. He grew up originally in South Africa, and so he went back to South Africa. And as a kid, he grew up in the ocean, literally diving, free diving, I will add, in the kelp forests off the tip of South Africa. And so that's what he went back to when he basically burned out, a theme that people, my listeners, will understand. I've experienced. So maybe that was one of the reasons I was just riveted. I was like, wow, this guy is, I can totally relate to this guy. So he went back, and one of the things I talk about in other episodes is about the importance of remembering who we are. And so here he is, Craig Foster, saying like he basically had this, I would call it a form of depression. He had a breakdown, ends up going for his. He remembers who he is. He goes back to South Africa. He starts free diving again. And he didn't want to do any filming, but he meets an octopus underwater. And you've seen this. So what kind of impact did this have on you?
You're listening to the Soul of Life podcast with me, Keith Miller. Every week I bring you a new episode that hopefully inspires you to reflect more on who you are and who you want to be in this rapidly changing world. If this time we share together moves you somehow closer to who you are or lights up parts of you that have been unplugged, I want to hear from you. And please share the love. Take a moment to find the Soul of Life podcast in the social media where you hang out on iTunes, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, and let me know who you are.
So I'm trying to figure out how to say this so it won't sound like I'm a terrible person. But at first, when I was watching with my husband, I started to feel like this is slightly creepy, his obsession with this octopus. So I couldn't tell, he has this very kind of lulling voice and accent. And then because of all the scenery, so I couldn't tell. I told him, I said, I don't know whether this is soporific or fascinating. But as I sort of got past, because honestly, he was almost talking about her, the octopus. He doesn't name her, thank goodness, but it is a her and a she. And the way that he spoke about her was almost like he was in an intimate relationship, which I was starting to feel like this is just so odd. It's almost like he's having this romantic affair with this octopus. But then as I kept watching and kept thinking about it, I think there's a critic who said by the end, it's like Charlotte's Web and the relationship between Charlotte and Wilbur, right? Like that, it's this beautiful friendship where all he could think about was her, the octopus, but it's not, it started off for me in an uncomfortable place of like immediate
I get that
intimacy of him thinking, and he actually says that he just, lived, dreamt, I just couldn't stop thinking
and
about
absolutely. And I think that should be named. And I think people need to hear that named, especially in the Me Too era. Like we're talking about an octopus here. So let's just be clear. Like this is an octopus.
Yeah. This is a real octopus.
It's a real octopus.
In the kelp forest of South Africa.
That's right.
And there is nothing untoward, although if you do Google it, there were other people who got initially creepy vibes. But then as you keep watching it, it transforms into something so powerful and beautiful and healing, which I think is probably the most important part. And it actually becomes something he shares with his own son, who starts joining him for some of the dives. And I have to admit that having gone from this almost cynical, which I'm not normally, but I was like, wow, this is almost like weird how intensely he's feeling for this octopus. And by the end, I was in tears. By the end, there's just one line that he sort of throws out there in terms of, and that was the last time I, had physical contact. And by the time I just was like, wait, what? And even though he tells us at the very beginning what the life cycle is of an octopus, by the end of the documentary, I really don't think this is a spoiler. I mean, you need to look up the life of an octopus to know. But by the end, I was completely enthralled, and I thought it was really beautiful. So I hope it's okay that I went from one opinion and then just kept watching. So if you happen to at first be slightly put off by the way that he's talking about his relationship to the octopus, keep watching, because it just ends up being a transformative experience for the filmmaker and subject of the film. And for you as a viewer, you start to realize we all need transformative, revelatory friendships and connections. And whether that's with a person or our pet or an octopus we happen to find in the kelp forest of South Africa, we all need that. And what all of these people and animals have to teach us, it's all valuable. It's all healing and holistic. Valuable. So I have to say that was my experience watching My Octopus Teacher.
I totally get that, Sandie, and I agree that it is worth hanging in there and seeing it. I was just totally enthralled by the cinematography of this. He's free diving for, it seems like, a couple minutes at a time, and even just that is breathtaking. The footage that he gets of other creatures that are down there, but
literally breathtaking, right, Keith? I mean, for real.
I didn't realize that, but yeah.
No, I mean, you're watching it, and just even the physicality of what he is doing is remarkable. It's not something all of us would be able to do and to capture. And I thought the gentleness with which he spoke of the experience, I thought it was really inside. I mean, you can see how it changed his life, and I do think it sticks with you after you watch it.